Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. It is February the 4th. We just got through with Brian Gutekunst's press conference. It feels like it's been forever since we heard Gutey speak. He commented on a multitude of things. We're going to run through just kind of the highlights of the press conference there. What did we learn? What did we not learn? Were there a couple surprises there? We'll dive into all of it. He talked about Matt LaFleur's future. He talked about, or not Matt LaFleur's future, he talked about his working relationship with Matt LaFleur. He talked a little bit about Rashawn Gary. He talked about Keyshawn Nixon in the cornerback room. He talked about Aaron Banks in the offensive line. We're going to dive into all of it. So, just buckle up. Let's go through and hit on some of the highlights of the tweets. Before we get into it, if you would, do that YouTube stuff for me. Hit like, hit subscribe, click the bell icon. If this is your first time tuning into PTA, welcome. Thank you for making us a part of your afternoon. We are not experts. We are not insiders. We're not media members. We're fans just like you, talking Packers on a daily basis. So if you are looking for that type of content, make sure you hit like, hit subscribe, click the bell icon so you don't miss out on future events here on the channel. I see the chat already filling in here. We got Solder in the house. Has no idea what he's supposed to say, but after that, I feel like the Packers are stuck. Whew. I think that's very well said, Solder. We got Nick McSwain in here. Kyle Andretti, what's up, buddy? D.A. Daryl in the house. What's up, Bob? We got Professor Cakes in here. And, of course, Nick McSwain says, him downplaying roster youth was my least favorite thing. Amen. The injuries, too. I understand you can't just come out. And Jason Woody with a great question, the way he framed it. You can't just come out and say, the injuries didn't affect us you can't come out and say the injuries ruined our season. They're the only reason we didn't win. Nobody here is saying that's the only reason the Packers didn't advance further in the playoffs. But boy, oh boy, to just kind of brush it under the rug and pretend like, there's nothing wrong here. There's nothing that we're doing wrong in terms of building the roster and things like that. I don't know, man. And again, we've seen in the past with Gutey, he's made comments and then turned around and did totally the opposite, right? We've seen that with Aaron Jones, unfortunately. We were excited about having Aaron Jones potentially coupled up in the backfield with Josh Jacobs. And, looking back, hindsight being 2020, if you had taken that approach, you could have ran wide zone boot and pressed into duo as well, letting Aaron Jones continue to run wide zone runs and then have Josh Jacobs kind of be your feature back, but mostly dive into duo, inside zone, things like that. So, again, it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the offseason plays out. But let's just go through some of the highlights here. If y'all would smash that like button. I know we got a bunch of people following in right now. Thank y'all for making us a part of your afternoon. So, first thing here, I just tweeted a couple out. We got a couple tweets from other insiders as well. Packers GM on the current roster, quote, I really do like the guys in that locker room. It's two things. One, do we have the right people out there to handle those situations? And two, are we doing everything to give them the best chance to succeed? And he's talking about the late game collapse there against Chicago, talking about the late season collapse, right? A couple of things kind of perked my ears up a little bit. It's two things, right? Do we have the right people out there to handle those situations? And two, are we doing everything to give them the best chance to succeed? To me, it sounds like, okay, do we have the right players on the field? And do we have the right coaches out there? That's kind of what it feels like. Again, I'm reading between the lines there. He had glowing things to say about Matt LaFleur. I don't think that's a shot at Matt LaFleur. Some may see it that way. But, it's just amazing. The youth was not mentioned at all, It's not amazing. I mean, we don't expect them to go, yeah, we're the youngest roster. We got to get older. We got to get more experience. You don't expect him to come out and say that because he built the roster, right? However, like Nick McSwain says here in the chat too, man, I'm tired of people saying the injuries don't matter. It's just, again, if they don't matter, then stay 90 under the cap this year and come back and bitch and moan when they don't do good, right, Nick? That's exactly what would happen for sure. Moving along, Wes Hawkowitz said, no firm decisions made yet, but Brian Gutekunst says he'd expect guard Aaron Banks and cornerback Nate Hobbs back next season. Multitude of tweets went out there, not just Wes Hawkowitz's. Everyone came away with the same kind of viewpoint on that. It sounds like they're running this thing back. Now, again, he said the same thing about Aaron Jones, right? And Aaron Jones ends up not being a Packer. So, is he being honest there? Is he being completely truthful? No, I mean, what's he going to say? He's got these guys under contract, right? So you got to on the surface say, yeah, we expect everybody back that's under contract. But it does sound like, and this is what we were a little bit afraid of with Aaron Banks. I'm cool with keeping Nate Hobbs. I seen a little bit in Nate Hobbs that I felt okay with it. I felt like, okay, if he was healthy and he was out there consistently and was able to build some consistency out on the field with this defense. Granted, now we got a new defensive coordinator, so you're going to have to kind of start over from square one, so to speak. But I'm okay with keeping him. Obviously, there's no cap space to free up there. You know, I mean, you could go post June 1. Yeah, absolutely. But in terms of Nate Hobbs this year, if you cut him out right, you're freeing up like $800,000. Run it back with him. I'm okay with that. When I say run it back, I don't mean add more bodies to the cornerback room, or I don't mean keep the cornerback room exactly the same. I'm simply saying I want Nate Hobbs on the roster. I want to see what we got there. Now, it sucks that we went out and spent money on a slot corner and tried to convert him outside. It is what it is, right? Bullard, I think we all agree. We want Javon Bullard in the slot. But when it comes to Aaron Banks, you could free up $4 million this year. That's chump change. But what about the future? What if you did do a post June 1 cut, free up the $18 million for next year? Now you got the structure in place for the Christian Watson extension, right? Or whoever else you want to extend. And we'll dive into the guys up for new contracts going into training camp. Obviously, we get a little deeper into the offseason. Once the draft's finalized and everything, that'll be the next step. The roster's built. Now let's talk about who we want to give a contract extension to. So H.E. Soder says, if you roll with Hobbs, what do you do with Bullard? Too many slot guys. See, that's what I'm saying, Soder. I want Bullard in the slot. I've seen enough of Bullard and enough of Hobbs that I think Bullard is the better slot corner. So you kind of put yourself in a bind. I honestly don't think they expected Bullard to take the step that he did this year. Now, was he great? No. I would say he was good. I would say Bull was good. He's definitely above average, right? I wouldn't say he's very good yet. Maybe good on the cusp of becoming very good. But yeah, I think they were kind of, okay, well, if Bullard doesn't take that step we're looking for, we'll have Hobbs. And then all of a sudden Bullard took a step in training camp and everything. Okay, well, we'll play Hobbs outside. And that didn't look pretty. Of course, I'm giving Hobbs a little bit of grace because he was hurt all year long. But at the same time, when Gutey signed him, the big knock on him from the people that didn't believe in that signing was he's been as hurt as Jair Alexander. I think that's an exaggeration, but there were injury concerns there in terms of his pass spot on the roster out there with the Vegas Raiders. So Ryan Wood tweeted out Brian Gutekunst on the impact of injuries on the Packers 2025 season. Quote, I felt through the end of the season, into the playoffs, we had everything we needed to win those football games. Listen, I'm too drunk to taste that chicken. I'm going to read it again. Maybe I'm misinterpreting here. You guys tell me what you think in the chat. Quote, I felt through the end of the season, into the playoffs, we had everything we needed to win those football games. End of quote. That sounds a lot like a GM that's saying, hey, there ain't nothing wrong with this damn roster. There's enough depth on this roster to overcome $90 million of cap space being on injured reserve, PUP, or other forms of reserve lists. Did he watch the last 5 games of the season? I mean, guys, maybe I dreamed this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but did we not end the season on a 5-game losing streak? And then you come out and the comment is, I felt through the end of the season, into the playoffs, we had everything we needed to win those football games. That's tough. Nick says in the chat, that's coach speak 100% LOL. I hope it is, Nick. If not, I want what Gutey's smoking. You know what I mean? So, and again, we talked about this going in, guys. You're going to get a lot of coach speak. He's not going to say a whole lot. But it does kind of feel like he's doubling down. Now, let's hope as soon as free agency opens, as soon as we get to restructuring contracts, things start to shift. Again, don't believe what I tell you. Believe what you see me do, right? Actions speak louder than words. I always say, you want to know where people's priorities lie, look at their checkbook and look at their calendar, right? Where are they spending their time? Where are they spending their money? That shows you what's important to them. As soon as we get into this offseason and it's time to cut, it's time to restructure or cut players and or sign free agents, we'll know exactly what he means, right? And if we just hold pat and run this thing back, it's a tough look for me. Because if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. There is no staying the same, right? Next quote, also tweeted out by Ryan Wood over on X. Brian Gutekunst on Rashawn Gary, quote, I thought he started out really, really strong. Obviously, he had a lot of production early. I think he ended up with 60-some pressures and 7.5 sacks. That's pretty good production in the NFL. Note it was not a strong finish for Gary, though. All those things are true. Started off strong. I think through 4 weeks of the season, Gary was leading the league in sacks, and it's like, oh boy, Gary's about to have his career year here at 28 years old. That's wild, right? He's about to have a 13, 14, 15 sack season. This is exciting. Micah's going to get his too. Then, of course, down the stretch, it really tapered off. So, you've heard us talk about this on the show. We agree with what he said there. He did start strong, right? The back half was tough to watch. And you could kind of see Gary hitting the wall, though he was still effective in the run game. It's just you start having all these guys dropping like flies. Wyatt goes out. Parsons goes out, right? Hell, against the Bears, you were in pretty good shape until the second half when Edgerrin Cooper left the game. Now you've lost your star in the middle at stackbacker, that tier 2 position of importance we talk about. So, again, I think to me, Gary, it's going to be a restructure or a cut. It's going to be a pay cut or a cut. And think, if you want to know what I'm kind of hinting at there, go look at what happened to Preston Smith the year before his final year in Green Bay. That type of cut. Significant pay decrease, guarantee a little bit of money to make it a little more worth their while. But we'll find out soon enough whether Gary's going to be back. Next, Rob Demovsky tweeted out, Brian Gutekunst on free agency. I believe we have all the flexibility to do what we want to do. Again, quote, I believe we have all the flexibility to do what we want to do. What does that mean? I don't know. Right. He didn't come out and say, yeah, we're going to be very active in free agents. Yeah, I'd like to go out and get a couple guys. Yeah, it'd be nice to get a couple pieces. He just said, I believe we have all the flexibility to do what we want to do. And again, we broke that down earlier today. We broke it down several times on the show. You could free up a ton of cap space just like that. You could be 40 million under the cap and go get 2 free agents that are high price free agents, and you're off and running. Also, I wouldn't be surprised if they just kind of stay put. I hope that doesn't happen, right? I hope it doesn't happen. So we'll see, though. We will see. PJ B holding in the chat. Gutey speaks, but says nothing. There you go. All right, there you go. Daryl says Jamel Dean would be a nice addition. I agree. We were breaking that down this morning, Daryl. I think cornerback Jamel Dean would be an excellent pickup if you want to spend a little bit of money in free agency on a cornerback. Wes Heikowitz tweeted out actually 3 different updates here. This was interesting. This is kind of on the injury front. Gutekunst on Tucker Kraft, quote, the impact he has on our football team, not only as a player and as a leader, is important to us. They have been in contact with Kraft and his reps. I'm sure that's about a contract extension, also the injury, everything in between, right? On Malik Willis, this one hurts, but we all expected it. I don't think there's any BS in here. Quote, we'd love to have Malik back, but being realistic, he'll probably have more opportunities to play more than he would here. Didn't mention money. We know that's about money. Malik Willis is about to get the bag, and you go get your money, big fella. You earned it. You're a hell of a human being, hell of a quarterback. It was awesome to see Matt LaFleur pull that potential out of you. I'll tell you this. You ask Malik Willis what Matt LaFleur means to him. Matt LaFleur just helped make Malik Willis 10, 15, maybe $20 million just like that. And I know people don't want to give Matt LaFleur credit for that. What did he do in Tennessee? Right? What other teams were willing to trade a 7th-round pick? I repeat, a 7th-round pick for a guy who was projected to be a first-round talent at quarterback. No other teams were willing to do that other than the Green Bay Packers, to the best of my knowledge. They definitely weren't willing to give up a 6th-round pick, or he'd be playing for that team. So, again, you got to tip your cap to Matt LaFleur, tip your cap to Malik Willis. Go get your money, big fella. On Josh Jacobs, Wes Hawkowitz tweeted out, it is an, quote, important part of our football team and has a lot of good years left. So that's one that worries me. I hope Josh Jacobs returns. And again, I think he will. But there were a couple of sports media guys in and around Green Bay that were like, I don't know, is Josh Jacobs really safe? Is he really safe? I hope he is, because I do think he is a big, big, big difference maker, even with how bad the offensive line was playing the last 2 years in terms of run blocking, right? Absolutely huge for this team. Next, Wes Heikowitz tweeted out, no surgeries for Jordan Love per Gutekunst. Which is great news, obviously. Sometimes you're going, why would he have a surgery? He wasn't really hurt, was he? Sometimes at the end of the year, we find out about this thing 3-4 weeks down the road. We're like, oh, crap. So-and-so had surgery. I didn't even know he was hurt, right? So that's good that there's no surgeries planned for Jordan Love unless something changes. Zach Tom will be on the show for a while, but but doesn't expect it to impact his 26th season. Brian Gutekunst mentions he's proud of how Tom battled. He went on and raved and raved and raved on Zach Tom and his toughness, his versatility, everything. I love Zach Tom. So again, that makes me feel really good. Rather than just say, yeah, we'll see, we'll have to see. I think what he's saying here is he's not going to be active in the offseason program. He'll be rehabbing for the surgery he had. However, they expect him to be ready for week 1. That's great. We broke down that injury. You can find the video here on the channel where we were talking about best case scenario, worst case scenario. To me, it feels like he's going to be ready to go week 1 of the regular season. So that's exciting news. And then I tweeted this out, Packers GM Brian Gutekunst on the cornerback room. Brace yourself. Quote, do we need wholesale changes? No. Gutey on Keyshawn Nixon. He was asked specifically about Keyshawn Nixon. He had a very, very good year. All right. Again, what does that mean? What's the numbers attached? Keyshawn Nixon, $7.1 million against the cap. You can free up $5 million if you cut him outright. Is it worth it to keep Keyshawn on the roster for 7.1 against the cap? Or would you rather have the $5 million to be able to allocate toward other resources? Try to think how I can say this. Before the Bears game, both Bears game, really. Now, here's what's crazy is started off bad in the Bears game, the first meeting, although made the game-winning interception in the end zone. And it's like, let's go, Key. You know what I mean? I was the biggest Keyshawn Nixon fan in the world when that happened. Come back the second game against the Bears, biting on double moves, getting cooked, jumping on the pile, personal foul, and the worst part of it, refusing to even lower the shoulder and try to make a tackle on a goal line situation with the game on the line. Man. Now, maybe they'll cut him outright. I don't know. Maybe he'll be on the roster and he'll be our best corner next year. I'm hoping. But it sounds like, at least if we're taking Gutey's comments at face value, Keyshawn Nixon will be back next year, right? Now, again, was he a bad football player? No, I wouldn't consider him bad. When you take the money, right, 7.1 against the cap, that's not a horrible cap number. That's a cheap cornerback in this league, especially for someone that I think there is an argument to be made. He's the best corner on our team right now. That's not saying a whole lot, right? Because Carrington Valentine, to me, looked like he took a step back this year than previous year. But when you look at that as a whole there, Keyshawn, let me find the positive for you. Keyshawn Nixon led the league in pass breakups. That's a plus, right? That's a positive stat. What's the negative? Tons of penalties and tons of biting on double moves. Well, how do you lead the league in pass breakups? You're aggressive underneath, attacking the football. What's the negative to that? You're going to get cooked on double moves. It's just the way it is, right? So that's what Gutey had to say on Keyshawn and the cornerback room. So that's just a quick, like I said, glimpse. You guys can go back, watch his entire press conference. I tried to grab what I felt like were the highlights of the press conference to kind of bring it into you guys and gals and make it a little more convenient for you. I'm curious to know what everybody thinks in the comments. Let me know in the comments. How do you feel about what Brian Gutekunst said about everything? The injuries going into the season, the revamping of the roster or lack thereof. How do you feel about his comments about Aaron Banks and Nate Hobbs? What about the cornerback room as a whole? Is Keyshawn Nixon going to be on the roster? All that stuff. Hit us up in the comments. Let me know what you think. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you don't miss out on future live streams. We will be back either later this afternoon or tomorrow for more live coverage of the Packers. We'll be doing a mock draft live. I'll get that set up. We'll be doing that really, really soon. So let us know in the comments. What do you think, guys? Thanks to everybody in the live chat. Appreciate you all. We will be back as soon as there is news that breaks and things to talk about. So my name's Clayton. This is PTA. Go Pack, go.
There we go.
We're out. Bye, guys.